Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to Halftime Chat, and I am excited that Angie Stone has returned. Now, for those who don't know, I had an interview with Angie Stone, um, but we had some technical difficulties with during the interview, so we had to postpone it. And as she's getting ready to tour and stuff, so we just got word about being able to reschedule the interview today. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to speaking to Angie just to cover some of the things that we didn't cover in the first interview. And if you remember the first interview, they get to talk about the sequence, talk about sort of her transition into as from vertical hold to her solo career. And we touched a little bit about her time working with Brown D'Angelo on the Brown Sugar album as well. So, as I said, we didn't get to cover as much, even though we had 30 minutes and stuff. But hopefully, we can get a little bit more today, and we take it from there. So, I'm looking forward to speaking to Angie.
Hey,
Hi, Angie.
how you doing, babe?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm doing well.
Good.
Yes. Well, appreciate being able to get this interview rescheduled. I know the last time um
Yeah,
we had some technical difficulties at the end.
that's okay.
Um y- where I stopped the last time, I was talking to you about Brother, about the single, and about the impact it made as me because I was living in Los Angeles at the time when you released it, and the impact it
Right,
had on me as a black man living in the States, looking at the video, and we don't get too many inspirational songs for black men, and I wanted to get
right.
where you thought about the concept of doing that, and did you realize the impact it would have?
Well, Harold Lilly, myself, and Raphael Sadiq,
Oh, wow.
that was where the birth of the song took place. Harold Lilly actually started writing the song, and it was just like uh, freaking frack. Raphael is super, super, super talented, and the magic began to happen.
Mm,
Um, the more they came up with the song, the stronger we got in as a whole, because now there was a purpose-driven song. So now I had to put in my head, how am I going to approach this? Because I could get blackballed. I mean, they could say she's racist, she doesn't want to do nothing but black records, and
yeah.
we're not going to play it. Or they could say, we're going to support her because it ain't but one out there. We got to let her go on through to do her thing, because it could send the wrong message if we don't do it. So I think that they embraced it, not knowing the impact that it would have on our up and coming generation. And I think it was a great move, mainly because all of the police brutality and the beatings
Mm,
that started to come down the pipeline, we had something to reference and look to. And the song is still very relevant
yeah.
today, because they won't let it go.
Yeah. No, because there's not too many. I mean, there's not too many songs that try to lift up the the black men, and that seems to be the community in which, for somehow, especially in America, because I'm Nigerian heritage. I was born in England. I went to
Mm-hmm.
college in the U.S., but I noticed that America had more black fathers went in the homes as in most places, and so it was a very powerful song. And were you surprised with how successful it became?
Yes, I was, because I mean I knew James Brown did "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud"
Yeah,
many years before. But I think for the millennium and the generations to come, they needed something new and fresh that was connected to their reality.
yeah,
So, having the college students, the high school students, and the basketball players, and all of the actors and different people,
yeah. Will Smith and stuff. Yeah,
John, yeah, then we have the Will Smiths, and all those people in your video. It kind of says, hey, we are the marching on. We are here. We are the crew. We are the foundation. they become the landmark of, look, I am you and you are me.
Yeah. There is one person who sadly is not around that doesn't get enough credit and exposure, who wrote a massive song for you, Andrea Martin.
Oh,
Oh,
listen, I live with that every time I perform. Wish I didn't miss you, because that is she and I singing that song
oh, she
together.
sang. Okay.
Yeah, she sang every time you hear, with that I can't eat. That's she and I together. And it was as if two sisters were in the studio together, and we were having a blast. And when I got tired, she jumped right in and carried me and started singing, and held a lot of it together when I was exhausted. But
Wow.
every time I do that song now, I leave some of the backgrounds in so that I can hear her there. She will always be a part of my legacy and the history, and people will always that sing that song, they will always hear her.
Yeah.
And but I'm just overwhelmed that I had the ability and the time to work with her. um Andrea Martin and Ivan Matias wrote that song, and
Oh.
Ivan called me about a month ago. He said, I have a hit for you. And it's the first time we're trying to do something without her. And I said, okay, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But Andrea Martin, it's still hard for me to believe that she's gone. She was an amazing songwriter and producer.
Yeah, I think, and that's the thing, because she wrote the big hit for Don't Go for In Vogue, and I think Waterfalls and not, but because she wasn't a singer as well, we didn't, most of us outside of the industry wouldn't have known who she is, and that's why.
Yeah, but she is a singer. That's her singing on Wish I Didn't Miss You with
Yeah.
me. She is a singer. I'll get back to you, Chris.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, so that, because that's, I mean, it's when you look back at your catalog. I mean, I know you're coming around with some new stuff now, but what is your Angie Stone song that you think, okay, this is what, maybe not your favorite, but the one that you think actually everyone associates with Angie Stone?
I love Pissed Off. I love Bone to Pick. I love Greengrass Vapors. Um, a lot of my early record was more hip hop soul.
Mm.
Uh, by the time Mahogany Soul came out, it was a little watered down, but it was authentic neo soul, according to this term neo. But Greengrass Vapors, I Love You the Way a Man Loves His Money, $20. Greengrass Vapors, Bone to Pick with You. All those songs were grit, grind, and they were all me. And
Mm.
so, with the exception of one or two songs that was written by Stephanie Bolton, Freedom Lyles and I did that album, and he actually wrote a song on this new album, which I'm
Oh,
super excited about. It's going to be a great club record, and it makes me miss working with him.
wow. I mean, especially with what has led you um to come back and start releasing new music, especially as the industry seems to have changed slightly since when in the
Well,
heyday.
I never left, but I can tell you this. Every deal that I've had, every album that I've dropped, I've been switching labels. I've been going from this place to that place. And most of the time it was, when you go to independent labels, they don't have enough money to properly promote the single. So you'll put one out, and if it doesn't go to the top, they very well seldom want to put more money into a second single. So it got to the point where I'm like, you know what, I'm done, because if they don't have the money to compete, I'm wasting great material on it's just sitting on the shelf. And once I had decided I was done with that, then I had a company pursue me. That made the difference. When SRG says, we want Angie Stone, I was like, my eyes popped open, because I'm like, okay, this is a change in the road, because here's a company that's saying, we want to put our money where our mouth is. We love her. We need to invest in her. This is the kind of deal we want to do. Can she make it happen? And just listening to that drive and that determination made me say absolutely, because now I had partners. I wasn't by myself.
Yeah, I mean they because I've interviewed Ruffins and they're partnered with SRG and they have done well in trying to push their music, the videos, and I know recently they just brought up on Chaka Khan, so it looks as if they are really trying to take a hold of R&B music and really make a statement.
Yes, I really believe that they will do a great job.
So what are you working on a full album as EP?
Oh yeah,
a single?
I'm just about one song away from finishing the album.
Wow. Okay. And so do you have a time frame as to a single dropping before the album or what's?
Well, you're gonna get the single on the 10th of next month.
Okay, 10th of March.
And when you get that, we'll be gearing up for the album release shortly after that.
How does it feel being back in this sort of mode of album music?
I is you know what? I have to wait until I see the rhythm, how the temperature is with the record. I know a hit record, I've had quite a few. So I know when they genuinely are feeling a record. My thing is that when we start feeling it, we'll all know. Once that happens, I think everybody that has been contemplating doing the song or the album will either embrace it or reject it.
Yeah. The when I was telling people that I'm going to I'm interviewing you, a lot of people said to talk about your movie career, and as much as your singing career, you went from hot chicks and to Fighting Temptations and what? How did the transition to acting for you?
Well, I always was an actress. I wanted that before singing. I just became famous with singing first, but which kind of pushed me away from the acting because I was so busy touring and trying to keep up with my music that by the time, I really started pursuing my film career, which started to take off pretty quickly. I found myself in the throes of putting a record out and trying to do this movie and trying to promote this. Can we go to this movie premiere? And so I realized until either one of them was making me enough money to really cancel or engage the other one, I had to kind of balance the scales. So if a movie comes and it's really a nice, Hot Chick was a great movie for me. I didn't have a whole lot of work to do, and they paid me a decent salary. The Fighting Temptations was a fun movie for me. It afforded me the union, my health care and everything else I got. Now I'm looking to I just did a movie called Whole Phase. I did Lincoln Heights TV. I did In the Cut TV. I mean, there's been quite a few TV shows that I've been doing, and people are starting to see my work as an actress. And they're taking it full on, but I've had to crawl before I could walk. There was a movie that Jill Scott and I was up for at one time, but I had to play a boss woman. And Jill ended up getting a part. And I remember Idris Elba telling me, babe, you got to know who is in your camp. Some of the people that you work for, the producer told Idris, we want Angie Stone. But Jill's people were 80s on a prior movie before that, and they let it be known that, look, you gotta hire this girl. This girl is great. So she had somebody on the inside kind of egging it on, which I'm happy that she got the job. But it made me feel good that Idris was the lead in the male role, and he told me that the producer wanted me.
Wow.
So that made me feel like I was, I'm a real actress. I mean, it's just the, powers that be. And that's why sometimes we have to be careful of the company we keep.
Wow. But when something like that happens, does that have any conflict between yourself and Jill or?
Oh, no, no, no. I can't be mad at her because if her team is that strong and they got in the fight and interceded for her, then, the best team won.
Okay.
I can't be mad. She didn't take it from me if he didn't make it mine.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a lesson for all of us as well to learn from that. Um, one of the big shows was R&B
Mm-hmm.
Divas as well, because what was the experience on that show?
Well, the R&B Divas had its pros and its cons. It was a great show, but I think it depicted women as angry Black women. And what I did not want to do was dilute the industry. We're all mad and we're all angry and we all want to be, successors over one another. When my ploy in the show was to keep us all singing so that the world would not forget that we're all unique voices. We all have a sound, and there's a place for each and every one of us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's straight because I've interviewed Nikki Gilbert as well as Monifa, Stacey Francis, and because I'm in England, I didn't get to see the show. But when I was telling everyone I'm interviewing, they kept talking about the show, and when I watched it's you're right. It's the way the filmmakers decide to show a particular part that
I'm sorry.
in. Oh, yeah, I'll say
Really?
it was sad that the filmmakers did not want to focus on your strengths, which were the singing and legacy.
Yeah,
They wanted,
they wanted to create the fighting, and they were selling drama. And so, being that Atlanta Housewives and those shows had become extremely big in the States, they were competing with the network
yeah,
that was the sister or the brother network. And so the thing was if they could sell this many, have this many viewers, then so can we. So we've got to create a narrative where people want to see you and they don't want to see you singing. They want to see you bickering and fighting.
wow. When you're on the show, are you able to see what's happening and say no, or is it afterwards?
You're able to, but when it's pre-scripted, you don't know what the plot is until it gets going. And but by that time you're doing already.
Okay. Wow. The one of the big things that the big shift that happened in the 90s is when the shockwave in the music industry, when Clive David gets ousted from Arista, and he goes to form J Records, and that's where we saw out, and at that time we didn't realize how what J Records was gonna to how it's gonna be. And it looked as if he was able to take a handful of people with him to start this new record from scratch. um I noticed that you joined a J Records, which was a big risk. I mean, did you think at that point in time, like, wow, I'm going to take a risk?
Well,
I mean,
I made the choice to stay with L.A. Reid.
oh, Arista.
And I was going to stay at Arista. It was my choice. I did not pick to choose to leave with
Clive.
Peter Ridge and Clyde. I decided I would stay. And when I decided to stay, L.A. Reid sat me down and he said, Angie, I have Usher, I have TLC, I have this one, I have that one. He gave list of artists that have to come out before you.
Wow.
And I feel like I owe it to them because they've been waiting all this time. So even if you stayed, and I just thought that was a risk because I was hot right now. No More Rain was a hit. So why do I gotta wait a year or two till everybody else comes out before you do a follow-up single on a record that's already winning? Yeah. And at that point, I felt like he was trying to tell me in so many ways, you would not be a priority here.
Wow.
And so when Clive and them told everybody I was coming with them, it was because Peter Edge had signed me, and he wanted to make good on his signings. Angie's coming with me, so he took me right over there.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
so with that happening, I wasn't mad because I was grateful that he didn't get angry because I didn't choose him to begin with. But once again, I became like the school teacher at high school. Everybody else was in high school and I was in college there in my mind.
yeah. I mean, he came out with Mahogany Soul, and and as I said, J Records became, because he was yourself, Alicia Keys, he had Luther, Carlos Santana. I mean, he took a number of people, and almost everything seemed to turn to gold or platinum on J Records.
Right.
Yeah. Did you feel that there was a different thing that were they putting more energy in trying to make the label successful? That's where you
I just think because they were artists that have not been released, they had not lost any money on those artists. So it was easier to invest in artists that didn't have a debt. I think I went into it and I had a debt already. So why would we invest more money into the debt before we, got any money from the new, stuff? And so I began to be a person of interest to make sure I coached some of them to greatness at the label. But of course, that was almost like saying, we'll get around to you when we get there.
Yeah. And I think there's parts of the industry that we, as fans, weren't aware of during that time. We were just so caught up in the music. But I think subsequently, we're hearing a lot of the stories and the challenges that, and especially during lockdown, things like you mentioned about publishing and points, things that we would never have known because we were so mesmerized by videos that we did not realize behind the scenes how challenging things were for the artists.
Yes, there's so much going on with regards to the industry in terms of how they move and some of the decisions that they make. So for me, it's been one of those things where I've seen quite a bit and I've made, I think, healthy choices for myself.
Yeah. As a songwriter, I noticed you did a collaboration, but we didn't get a lot of promotion. Every Day with Mary J. and D'Angelo.
No, I did not. No. That was an unfortunate mishap. When I did that song, Every Day I did that song. That song for myself. I was pregnant with my son, and D'Angelo and I, did that song. It was at one point that Mary J. Blige and MTA heard the record, and they begged us for the record, and they said, well, can we at least, try it to see what it sounds like? And he and I both at the time did not want to do it because it was a song that we had start working on my album. And so there at that point, we agreed to let her demo it to see how she sounded, but our vocals were always there. I sang all in the backgrounds, and so did D'Angelo. He and I sang in the background. Mary didn't sing any background. She tried to mimic the lead that I had there because they loved the song, and we did not like what we was hearing. We didn't think it was, what we were capturing. So we both decided at that time that we were not going to let her have the song. It was after, and they had booked studio time for for her to demo it. Mind you, we had studio at home, so we took our files there. We had our own stuff. And once we didn't like it, they had those masters at MCA, and they waited, after I put the record out with Devox, I put the record out overseas, and I put the record out in the States. They released that finished demo. They leaked it out to the public, and you listen at YouTube, you can hear someone say they got an unreleased joint with Mary J. Blige, but it's really me on the track singing underneath Mary. She tried to do the lyrics, in which I have really been very upset about it, because it was along with Die. There's a song called Paradise and Every Day, which are both were written together. It was the first song I'd ever written as a partnership with D'Angelo, and they took both of those songs and they released the demo masters without permission. That is why I just found out this year that they released it as a B-side single or something, but they never released it overseas. I mean, in the States, because I wasn't supposed to know it. So the version that you all got was never, I didn't give them any permission to do that. And as you could see, it was a horrible fail for Mary, because she couldn't get behind it and fight and support it, because it was not hers to do that.
Wow. And you couldn't do anything? I don't know how that works. Can they just do that?
Well, they stole it. I mean, it's not, can you just do that? I can go back right now and sue them, but what they would have to do is go to the licensing company, which is probably Universal, probably the same company I was under, and see, sue somebody for releasing the masters. No one should have been able to go in MCA and get those masters and release a song without our permission.
Wow.
So even if I wanted to cut the song Die over, she called it Paradise, but I wrote the lyrics, I did the song, D'Angelo and I sang and recorded, and then she put a voice on top of it. I wanted to go back and do that. It would drag us both through court, and my thing is, from one sister to the next, I don't want to see that happen. So I was trying to deal with it from a diplomatic point of view. I don't want to sue you. I don't want to make a big deal out of it. But you can't just get away with this, because even though you're not really using it, you're using it more than me, and I can't use it without having an explanation as to why I'm doing my own song.
Oh, goodness. Did that affect your relationship with her?
Absolutely. I don't engage. I don't dislike her. We will speak, but I have yet to talk about that. I have John McLean, who is a good friend to both of us. He's aware of it, and he's been trying to get her manager to address it. So what I'm doing right now with my legal partnership is I'm addressing it from another angle.
Oh.
And I'm definitely going to have all of the royalties, if any, brought back over to me.
Oh, is that John McLean, Michael Jackson, John McLean?
No, it's just that's John McLean and Michael Jackson.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. You went big time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Wow. No, that's disappointing. And I think that these are things that we probably, as I said, I thought it was something that you and D'Angelo did for Mary, and we wondered why it didn't have a video and stuff. But I guess that's the sad things that we are learning about how the industry.
Yeah, we didn't have a video because they were sneaking it under the radar. Normally, why would three big artists that work on a song like that not have a collaboration more credible than that? If they stole it.
Wow. My goodness, especially since you I mean, the both you and D'Angelo were with Dynamite at during that time, during the whole soul and stuff. So it would have
I do that song everywhere I go. People, you can tell who is the originator of the song because the performance speaks loud and clear.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing like singing your own song because you know where it came from, I would assume.
Yes.
Yeah. How much of your did you write on your own on this album? How many did you just or did you
on
your new album?
This record that I'm on now?
Yes.
I wrote some of so far I wrote on about 4 songs, but the songs were crafted by different producers and writers, and we kind of go in and write a bridge here or write a line here, because it's not, for nothing we don't want to jumble the chemistry. So if it's winning, we're not going to fix something if it's already winning.
Yeah. Now,
I don't care who wrote it if it's good.
Now, the industry has changed a lot. So, because back when the 80s and 70s, 90s, we had a lot of church-driven female and male artists. So we could feel the soul that they were learning, that type of soul. Today's female R&B acts, they sound very similar. It almost sounds like they're talking and mumbling. And so, but that seems to be, and the lyrics a little bit more X-rated, and that seems to be what's more popular on radios and stuff. How did that?
Well, it's the narrative that is met by radio. They program what they want to play, and if you play enough of that, that becomes the norm.
But how does that affect how you are creating your new music, knowing that this is what seemed like SZA and Jasmine Sullivan and all these the sound, not Jasmine, I would say her and that are sounding similar, Money Love and that's sounding similar. How do you expect to work with your label to say, okay, I'm going to be Angie Stone, and I've got my soul, my neo soul, and whatever we want to call it.
You're saying, how do we fit into the narrative of the day? We're not catering to the millennials. Those people are catering to the millennials. So what you're getting is a millennial structure of soul music. What we're doing is we're catering to our age group. And what will happen, we can't make a record that's conducive for who we want to reach, trying to follow a narrative that my 25-year-old son is reaching. I'm past that age twice already. So my thing is, there's no way I can cater to that audience unless he writes my song.
Yes, yeah. But
it kind of makes sense that they have their narrative and we have ours. If you are 30, 40 plus, you're looking at the kind of music that I make. If you are 25 and under or 30 and under, you're looking at the music my son makes.
Yeah. No, it's true. But I wonder.
Yeah, so we can't change perception. Right now, SZA and her and all of them, they're speaking to their audience.
Yeah. But I wondered, what does the late, because those of us of a generation who would bought your records and hear you on TV, Video Soul and stuff, we're not going to get the outlets as we used to. And so does your label say, okay, this is how we're going to sort of get your audience to get to hear you. We may just, I don't know if it's on YouTube or we need to get you touring, and what then becomes success? Does it, because we don't buy?
I can't answer that, mainly because music is taking its own course. What is happening now is, if you look at statistics, real tours are coming back. They're putting together the tours that are less organic and mechanical, but they're putting really earthy, groovy tours together because they're trying to reach an audience. Even my son's age group is trying to find a more mature position in live shows. So in order for them to accomplish the success of live shows, they would have to be a product of our age, of our generation. And in order for that to happen, they will have had to say it. Right now, my son wants to use my man. He'll use my band. This structure over structure. You're teaching them how to be better at what they're doing. We're upgrading the millennial mindset.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's what we definitely need, and that's what they definitely do need. Speaking of that, are you going to that supporting your new album? Are we going to see you touring? And what should we look out for when it comes to being on the road to touring?
Well, you're gonna get Angie Stone, the authentic Angie Stone. I will have my band. I will have everything that I usually have, but I mean, and I'll do my music the way that I do it. The structure will be pretty similar to what I've been doing. It's just that there'll be more material.
Okay. Are there dates? I know that are there dates we should look out for?
And then the UK shortly after that. So I'll be there for the entire month of March
Oh, you'll be here in the UK for the entire month of
in Europe.
March? Oh, in Europe, all around Europe. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. And for those in the US, when should they expect to see you?
Well, I go to New York next week.
Wow.
I'll start doing some shows there. And when I come back, I'd say April, we're going to start some, stateside dates.
Wow. Yeah, I'll be sure to make sure that people are definitely aware of that. Well, definitely, Angie, I definitely appreciate it. I mean, when I finish, I always ask my guests that if you were sort of stuck in an elevator and you had, a couple of hours before they get you out, do you have a favorite movie that you'd always like to watch?
Yes, I would like to watch Passion of Christ.
Oh goodness, the Mel Gibson one. Wow, that was a hard watch. It was.
It was a hard watch, but if I was stuck in an elevator, I would want to be reminded of his love.
Wow. And then the second question is always, what's your favorite song? Not by yourself, but just your all-time sort of favorite song by any artist that's.
Um, it's very hard to say because I am a Smoking Norfolk fan. I really love uh, any of his songs that kind of generically positive and pop with a soul tinge and performance. So I love Smoking Norfolk. But if I had to pick one song, I like Leandra Johnson's Jesus.
Okay. Okay. I've not heard that, but I'll definitely look out for that. The
Okay.
Yeah, I'll definitely look out for that. No, definitely, Andy. It's definitely been great to be able for us to be able to finish off and talk. The fact that you're back, I think for I speak for my generation who have been starved of good music, and most of our um artists from the 90s and 70s and 80s, what they tend to do is they just tour, but they're not really releasing new stuff. So it's really hopeful that you're joining the crew of releasing new things.
Absolutely.
You were
Okay.
recently on they just recently honored you on B Black Music Honors,
Yes.
but also but also the sequence that there was a recognition, more public recognition on the contributions that you brought.
Finally.
Yeah. Well, hopefully on your shows you can would you drop a few could we hear you drop a few songs for the sequence?
Oh yeah, definitely on my show.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Well, I do appreciate your time. I appreciate making time again, and we definitely look forward to seeing you when you do come here to England. You said
Okay.
next month. Yes.
All
Okay.
right. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for your patience.
No, that's fine. Okay. Well,
Okay.
have a good day.
Until, you too. Have a good
Okay.
one.
Thanks. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of the Halftime Chat community. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. But most importantly, why don't you consider being a member? That's a way of supporting the channel, but also getting a lot of videos ahead of time, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and some exclusive content that doesn't get shared. But anyway, thanks for watching and thanks for being part of Halftime Chat.
Sweet.